Hey everyone, this is John with Mega Tactical and Survival. I've actually got a couple projects I'm going to work on today. One of them is going to be creating, or actually melting down pine resin, or pine pitch, to make a glue and to make some fire starters as well. So I'll kind of show you basically what we're going to make out of the pine pitch after we melt it down. But I'm gonna get a fast fire started real quick and make it kind of big. So what I've got here is my cattail fluff. It's charred, and this is what I prefer to use most of the time. Yeah, let's see if I'm even. Yeah, okay, I'm actually recording myself. Now, put that in this dried grass. And something I did, I kind of made an improvement on my Strike Force fire starter, and I didn't care for the short cord that was on it, so I took some paracord and extended it. Wow, I didn't even have to blow on it. Check that out. That's nice. Love when that happens. And I'm going to use some of these sticks I've made with the pine resin on them to help kind of keep my fire going. You know, with pine resin, pine pitch, it burns really hot. So once these get going, you're not even going to be able to hardly blow that out. So, and I'll throw some sticks on it. Some smaller stuff. This isn't a lesson on fire starting, but I've got plenty of those on YouTube. This is just me getting my fire going for my projects I got coming up. But I got a couple things going on. I got a tarp that I used in a previous video. I'm going to make some improvements to it as well, and really make it actually more usable. So let's get this going. And I got some pitch pine piece I don't want to put on there. We'll save that. So we'll put some of these bigger pieces on here, get a good fire going. And just because a piece of wood is burnt doesn't mean you can't reuse it. So we'll get this going. Kind of help get my fire pit cleaned out a little bit too. And all this dead grass. Get rid of that. But I'm gonna put some bigger pieces on this, and I want it going really good. So. Let that burn for a few minutes. I want some good coals, and come back here in a minute. So, all right, first part of this project, I brought a tin can out with me. And I've got a grill I brought as well. But all right, cattail fluff that needs to be made, and I brought quite a bit of pine pitch, pine sap. What I'm going to try to do, if I can, get that big chunk broke down smaller. I want to get enough of this together and melted that I can actually dip these sticks down into it completely. We don't want the bark in there. This one, if I can get it torn apart. This is a nice big chunk. My wife actually picked this up off the ground while we were working on our property. And let's see, get this knocked down a little bit. As you can see, hopefully you can see this. You've probably seen my videos before on making char cloth. You can see the flames coming off the can itself. It's doing its job. It's burning up, charring the cattail fluff in there. And usually once those flames quit, then it's pretty much done. So we'll let that burn for a few minutes, and then I'll stick the grate on it and put our can in and start melting our pine sap. So alright, I'm going to take out my cattail fluff. It's done. And I'm going to put my grate on my fire. And the thing with this, the pine pitch, you don't want to get this too hot. I mean, it will ignite into a tremendous ball of flame. So the thing is, we want to heat it, we want to melt it, but we don't want to burn it, because it's amazing how well it ignites. And what we'll start doing is start cutting up some of our wood. Basically, we're going to use our matches. Basically what we want to get down to is some really small, bigger than match sized. I mean, you don't need to be that small. A piece like that will actually work really well, so will that. And you can always break the jagged pieces off. But we want to get these down to a decent size. This tomahawk I'm using, I bought years ago at a Mountain Man store in Manitou Springs, Colorado. And I bought it probably in the early 90s, maybe 93, 94. And had it forever. And this is my throwing tomahawk, but if you can see, it's starting to crack down the middle of the blade. And it's from throwing it. And it needs to be welded and fixed, but still an awesome piece. If you're into traditional items, I mean, this is an awesome piece to have. I like a lot of the newer gear, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the old school stuff is actually even better. And I have cut probably hundreds of boxes of kindling using this tomahawk for my home fires. And if you're into these guys being perfectly square, you can always hit them with the tomahawk, cut the ends off. Anyway, we'll use these to start with. That'll kind of be the beginning of our resin matchsticks. And the nice thing about these, I am going to break out a lighter for a minute, is if you were down to where you had just say a single match, or even in this case a cigarette lighter, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And that's how quickly that lights. It'll burn a lot nicer than just a regular match. And man, if you drip that on you, it's hotter than hell. But it went out. I got a little bit of a breeze going here. 1, 2, 3. You see the wind's kind of blowing. But yeah, like I said, and don't let that stuff drip on you. It is hot. But these work great if you're needing to get a fire going and you've only got limited resources as far as getting it started. Take some of these with you, light these, and then throw them in there and use them to actually light your fire. They burn really well. And it's kind of hard to see if our pine pitch is beginning to melt. Alright, stupid bipod. But we'll keep an eye on this, see how it's doing. Move in a little closer. You'll hear it start to boil, and once it starts to melt down a little bit, we'll put a stick in there and kind of stir it, help get things going a little faster. And we'll take a break for a sec. We'll come back. Our fire has died down, and what I'm going to do now, this is our pine resin. If you see this, this is all the bark and everything that came off of it. Actually, I'm going to do something different with this, so and I'm making a mess with it now. But anyway, I want to get as much of this off as I can. And wish I had a better, hey, let me grab something different here. Use a piece of cardboard. And this is all the pieces of bark and the trash that was in with the, well, it's being difficult to get out of here. It was mixed in with the pine pitch. And what I'm going to do with this is clean this out of here. And these big chunks, once they cool, I can use them as a fire starter. It's amazing how much of this stuff winds up in here. Alright, that looks like the majority of it. Now what I'm going to do is find my pliers here, and you might see my cat sneaking around here. He's running around. Just take my pliers and dip these in and set them on the rock. The cold rock is going to cool them off really fast. Just take these and dip them in. And if I showed you in the earlier part of the video that these burn quite well, and if you're getting a fire started and you don't have a whole lot of materials, say you've only got a few matches. It's kind of sunny out here right now, so I'm having a hard time seeing in the camera. But if you only have a few matches, these little guys here will actually light within 3 seconds. And you can, once your match goes out, you can use these guys basically as your match. What I did, I just put this, put the pine pitch in this can, put it over the fire, and you want to watch it because you don't want the fire to actually ignite the pine pitch, and I'll show you why here in a minute after I get through with this. It's actually quite volatile when it catches flame. These little guys here, man, these are awesome if you're on limited resources and you need to get your fire started and you've only got a match or two. They're not going to light with it's not going to do the same as pitch pine or fat wood. You're not going to be able to light this with a ferro rod, but if you have some type of fire source, such as, like I said, a match or something like that, that you can get at least 3 seconds flame out of, then these guys here will take right over. And they burn hot. They burn really fast. I wouldn't say fast, but violently. And this leftover pine sap, you could make an adhesive out of this, basically like an epoxy. If you mix this with charcoal, it actually hardens quite hard. And we'll let that dry a little better. As you can see here, hopefully the sun's not, it looks like molasses basically once it's melted down. And you could let this cool in here and reuse it. So just because it all didn't get used now, you can save it. But what we're going to do, we're going to experiment. We're going to have a little bit of entertainment here. I want people to see how volatile this stuff is. How flammable it is. It's actually quite impressive. You wouldn't want to get this on you, even if in its halfway cooled state right now. It would melt the skin right off of you. So once my fire gets going, I'll show you how well this melted sap burns. Alright, I'm going to show you a quick test on these, and they haven't completely cooled yet, but 3 seconds, lighter, match, etc. This may give you an extra several minutes burn time to help get your fire going. 1, 2, 3. So once the pitch really gets going, creates quite a burning surface, and it also drips the pitch as well, so you could actually drip the pitch onto what you were trying to burn. See how it's just dripping into a flame? But might be helpful. Like I said, it's not going to work like fat wood, but it might be an aid to help get your fire started. Alright, and if this is on the fire good, I want to show you, hopefully without getting burned. If you see the difference in the flame, you see the black smoke and how the flame increased and grew just from pouring that little bit on there. If you're not careful when you're melting this can catch fire, and you'll have a flame coming out of there like a jet engine, man. And it's hard to put out unless you cover it. But hopefully you saw the difference in the fire right then. But very flammable. Well guys, I'm going to conclude this part and end it. I believe we're done for the day on this. And of course my rocks are still hot. That's why these guys are not drying completely cool yet. So I'll just leave them out here and let them dry. Once they dry, you can package them up, put them in a container, and bag, whatever, and put them in with your camping gear or survival gear.